welcome to A Word to the Wise. Thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be speaking with you. Where are you dialing in from?
It's so cool, right? We can be anywhere in the world now.
Yes.
I am in the UK. I've moved out of London. I live in a place called Ticehurst, which is just near Tunbridge Wells. But if you take London and then you go down to the coast, I'm on the way.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I've been to the UK once. I just was really in London. I didn't go anywhere else outside of that.
It's a
So,
big city. I mean, there's a lot to do in London.
yeah,
I lived there for
exactly.
23 years and hardly ventured out. So yes, I get you.
Right, right. Okay, so I want to jump right in and ask you how you, about your journey, really, and how you became a mind and body coach.
Oh, I love it, right? And so many people ask me this, and I had lunch with a friend of mine yesterday that hadn't seen me in a few years and just didn't know what I'd been up to. Last thing that she knew is I was in hospital, 9 months in and out of hospital, and then got out of a really bad relationship, which I didn't realize. So it was really that, my personal journey got me into this, got me into helping others. I used to be a SENCO, special educational needs coordinator. So I helped kids with dyslexia, dyspraxia on the autism range. Two of my four children are dyslexic. So I thought, if I do this, I can help them. Yeah, well, they didn't want that much help from mommy, but other people did, other kids did. So that really started my whole journey with the psychology of it. And then the more and more that I actually overgave, my body just said, hey, like, whipping me. It's like, stop. I started fainting. So I spent 9 months in and out of hospital, having brain scans, having a heart monitor implanted, just to kind of figure out what was going on. What was going on is I had a house full of seven children, four of my own, three of my partner. So seven different bedrooms for them, seven different schools, seven different holidays. And it was just like giving, 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 and giving from like a really empty place. So my body just said, nope, we're going to stop. So that was a massive wake up call, right? Being super independent. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't drive. I couldn't walk from here to the sofa in the back without fainting. So that really taught me it's like, whoa, okay, gotta listen to my body. And of course, when we broke up, because it was a toxic relationship, right? And listen, I'm not saying one is to blame, where it just happened that way, right? And then looking back at it, I'm like, oh, okay, we both played our roles really well there, or all of us, all nine of us did, right? um, and that's really where more and more awareness started coming in, where I did more and more workshops. I started leading a conscious sexuality group in London, and found out I was covering up a lot of sexual and other trauma from
Mm.
my youth. And I just kind of glossed over it and thought like, no, that's cool. I don't need to deal with it. And then, peeling back the onion layers, I'm sure you've heard about it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's what happened. The more that I started doing that, the more that I got clients that had the same kind of thing happen to them. And then for the past 4 years, I've been teaching other therapists and coaches how to make sure that they are clear when they deal with their clients, because oftentimes we take on what our clients
Mm.
tell us, what they've gone through, and find the methods that actually work for us so that we can stay clear.
Yes, absolutely. Wow, that is a
That was a long
powerful
monologue. I'm
story.
sorry.
No, no, it's okay. It was amazing. There's so much to unpack there. I want to start off by unpacking the giving piece, right? Giving,
Mhm.
giving, giving, so much
Yeah.
so that you were so burnt out that you were actually fainting. I can't even
Mhm.
fathom that. That's incredible. That means your cup was so empty and you were
Uh-huh.
neglecting yourself. So can you talk about why you felt the need to give so much? Was that something you were conscious that you were doing? Was that something that you felt like you needed to do?
It's
Um,
interesting, right? I'm writing my book and I was just unpacking,
mhm.
when did that start? I'm the third of three kids. And I always noticed that when I came into the room and I was smiling and I would give and I'd be happy with people, or I'd give them a compliment or bring them a cup of tea. At a really early age, I noticed that their energy shifted, and that the darkness and the dark waves that were around them kind of lightened. So I mean, I was massively empathic as a kid, and then shut it down, right? So, but it's anchored in at the age of probably 2 or 3,
Mm.
realizing that if I was helpful, I would get praise, people would love me. So it's almost instinctive when you get these things. It's like, oh my God, that's a pattern that has been running. I'm 54 for 52 years of my life. Oh my goodness. So yeah, so no, I didn't realize that I was doing it so much. And it's also, I think it's very cultural. Yeah, as a mother, you're supposed to take care of your kids, and then having 3 almost step kids, you have to take care of them. Their relationship with their mother wasn't so good. So I overcompensated and tried to have them feel even better when they came to London. And it's like, oh, where do I factor in in this whole equation, right? And you forget about it because that just hasn't been taught.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you said about just recognizing how people's energies would shift when you complimented them or did something for them, it's kind of, I think that is a great thing to have. And like you, I'm very empathetic, but we
Yeah.
know the extreme form of that is like people pleasing.
Yeah.
Like Oprah said, it took her a while to get over the disease to please. Because
Oh, I
if you
love
don't
it.
get it, yeah,
Yes.
if you don't check it, it really can take a toll on your physical health. So, once you got to the point where you realized like you needed to make a change and stop giving so much of yourself, how did you reconnect with yourself and start to figure out, okay, what does Juliette want? How can I prioritize her? Because I know that there's something you teach often to your clients or work with your clients is just like reconnecting to their body and
Yeah.
practicing self-care without feeling selfish.
Completely. So, I mean, so that was the first thing that came up when I started taking, I mean, physically, I had to start taking care of myself, right? There was no way. Yeah, I just remember lying on the stairs, and I had a cut in my wrist, and the blood just flowed out, and all I could see is this pool of blood.
Mm,
I was like, what the F, right?
yeah.
Is this the end of my life? So that point was like, okay, I've got to start taking care of me. Uh, and then things shifted. Ambulance came, took me to the hospital. And it was just like, at that point, it was like, no, no, I don't, this is not right. So I started doing I'd always done Pilates and other things that was me time. But I really started going to more workshops, delving into psychology more, delving into a lot of somatics, a lot of body based practices, and where it's okay to feel. Because so many of us just numb our feelings, our emotions, and the body
Mm-hmm.
sensations, where we're disconnected. We live in this part where we're like thinking, and not really knowing what was going on. So it started with breath work, it started with some yoga. And then now, what I really teach my clients is set a timer 3 times a day for 60 to 90 seconds. We all have 4 to 5 minutes a day in little chunks like that we can actually check in, take a breath in through your nose, hold it on top for a moment, and then just exhale through your mouth. And notice where that breath comes into your body. Is it up in your lungs? Does it go a bit further down to your belly? And then focus on just one point in your body and kind of see, it's like, okay, what am I feeling there? Is there any warmth? What's the temperature like? Does it feel like it's expanding? Is it contracting? Is it static? Is it slow? Is it pulsating? All these things that we've never actually been taught to check in with our body, because we just say, oh, I've got pain, or I'm emotional, or I don't like this. But it's like, oh, let me just check in what my body's actually feeling. And then usually there'll be a thought. It's like, what's the thought that's coming up? Oh my God, my body doesn't do what I want, or this is so stupid. But let yourself think that thought. And then notice, is there an emotion that comes up? Because often You might hit a part of you that's actually like, oh, it wasn't safe for me to check in with my body, or
Mm.
to even think that I was stupid. I had to go, go, go. And if you just acknowledge all these things, that's what we do. And then uh, and what we do then, that's called duplication. When you duplicate emotions, thoughts, body sensations, you actually move through them, and
Mm.
then they just disappear.
Oh, really? Like, so what do you
Yes.
mean by what do you mean by duplicating emotions? So if you let yourself think on the things
If
that
you
might
actually
trigger
let
you.
yourself think that thought and really experience it, and then get into the thought, there might be an image, there's definitely body sensation, there's definitely emotion. So if you allow yourself to feel those for 20 to 30 seconds, then you move through them, and then another piece of content comes up. It might be another negative thought, or it might be a bit more positive thought, more positive emotion. But that's how we actually excavate all this monkey mind. And oftentimes it doesn't need very long, 90 seconds, 2 minutes, and you're in a completely different place. You're actually present, and you're not in the future or in the past.
Mm. Is this how you train your clients to move through their trauma? Were these the methods that you use to also help you move through your trauma?
Yeah. Oh, I used a lot of methods. I was like my own guinea pig. And it's funny because I didn't learn about this, the duplication part, until much later. So while I was going through leading essential um, movement in the UK, I took a class in San Francisco, and someone was flogging me on my back. And all of a
Mm.
sudden, I was like, it released a whole bunch of visuals, actually. I could
Mm.
hear the things that happened, and I could actually remember what a trauma I was a rape victim of. I was, I hate using the name victim, but I was involved in a multi-rape by five guys, a date rape. And I remembered all of this, and I was like,
Mm.
whoa. So that was pretty intense, but I could kind of like stay through it. But that's because your body then actually completes the trauma cycle.
Mm.
So then when I went back to the UK, I found myself dumb, and I said, I want to reenact the scene. I need you and four other guys, but I want to have a different outcome. So
Mm.
I actually duplicated it in real, the
Wow.
experience that I had when I was 18. So that's how I also realized it's like, oh, then you can just completely change the outcome.
Mm.
And that's how I got into being a conscious dominatrix. And then, it's all these little steps forward. I
Yeah.
don't take my clients on quite such an extreme extreme path, but just to kind of tell you that really that's how I had to experience stuff.
Like taking your power back,
Yeah.
literally, in
Yeah.
in a physical way. Um, so speaking of, diving more into like sexual practices, and I know that that's part of your coaching. Something
Yes.
that two things that you're passionate is about: body shame, overcoming that, and building more intimacy in relationships. I want to talk about body shame first. Um,
Yes.
what is body shame, and how can people overcome it? And
Beautiful.
also, why do you think people develop body shame?
It's interesting, right? And it's almost, body shame is kind of a trauma. Yeah. So we've
Mm.
all been told what we should look like, right?
Yeah.
Society, church, your parents, school, whatever. There'll be little snide remarks saying, oh, you're wearing that? Or it's like, should you really be hacking things? I mean, I'm running a program on it next month called
Okay.
Scrumptious Bodies. It's like so up what's happening. So all these things load in, they load into our psyche. We stop loving our body as much as we think we can, or we don't even have that connection with our body. And then it also actually loads into the body, because the
Mm.
body then stops trusting us, because we're supposed to keep it safe, and then it doesn't. So then Yeah, we overeat, we overdrink, we overshop, we numb it out because it's just so uncomfortable to be with that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you look at social media, and everyone's got a smartphone these days, and everyone's on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and whatever other, methods and things there are out there. And if you see the amount of filters people use and how perfect they're posed, and if you just move your finger a little bit, like 1 inch to the left or the right, that ticks off 20 kilos of how you look, right? It's like it's so posed. Like, we have wrinkles, we have stretch marks and scars, and I'm super proud of mine. And my journey has been of yo-yoing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yo-yoing with my weight as well. And this year I lost 20 kilos. Over the last 5 years, I lost my sister, my mother, my father. My
Mm-hmm.
brother's dying now, so it's been a lot of grief, and I emotionally eat. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
And yet I still love my body, and it's like, okay, yeah, I don't have to be ashamed of how I look.
Yeah.
But it took a hell of a long time of work. Yeah, and a lot
Right.
of forgiveness to my body. And just there's so many beautiful programs out there that actually take you quite deep into it. And it's also a click that you want to make, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to have war with my body, with myself anymore. I just want to be in full acceptance of who I am.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more in detail about how people can move from a place of body shame to some sort of body acceptance or forgiving their
Yeah.
body or forgiving themselves for being at war with their bodies?
It's a process, but I can give you a few
Yes.
things, definitely. Um, One of the things that I get, I also tap. So I'm also an EFT tapper, and I teach that as well to my people. One of the things that I teach in my program, Conscious Scrumptious Bodies, because I think everyone's scrumptious. Scrumptious is just such a good word, right? Yummy, delicious,
Yes, I love
incredible.
it.
Is to strip down to as much as you feel comfortable, close the door so no one hears you, and actually look in the mirror and just let it rip. Let
Mm,
all the thoughts, all the judgment you have about, it's like, oh, that tummy, the stretch marks, my boobs, I can throw over my shoulder. What the hell? Yeah. Let it out. Because so often when we don't voice that, we just shove it under the carpet, but the body still feels it. So that's
mm-hmm.
one of the ones. And I have people crying and crying. And then afterwards, it's not, I mean, there's a few steps in between, but then afterwards, write a love letter to your body,
Mm,
or say it out loud if you want to
I
just
like
kind of
that.
record it, saying,
Yeah.
hey, you know what? Yes, you have stretch marks up to your boobs, but you've also carried 4 healthy children for me.
Mm,
Yeah, and many not so that didn't make it. And so I can look at these legs, really start having a love affair with your body. Like, look at your hands, just focus on one part. And it's like, what would I do without these fingers that have carried my babies, that have given me pleasure, that, have wear a ring from my fiance, that this, it's just like, what would I do without them? Oh my God, I've never realized how grateful I am for them. And really start writing that letter, having that love affair with your body again. And it might just be, you just do one finger. Like, I'm just going to have a love affair with my finger today. Or, what are the things that you love about yourself?
yeah. It's funny. I was about a year ago, I believe, I watched this movie on Netflix, and essentially it was about this older woman who her husband passed away, and
Mm.
she hired a male escort because she wanted to have
Yes.
um sex, right? And as you watch the movie, she admits that her whole sexual experience with her husband was very, you know vanilla, in the sense of like
Mhm.
not too much flavor, super basic, didn't really experiment with anything, and she was like always under the covers. And it comes out that she just wasn't okay with her body. And now that she's a lot older, she struggled with kind of being naked in front of this male escort and just needed a lot of affirmations, and so many things came out. Um, and at the end of the movie, you see her standing in front of the mirror, completely naked as an older woman, and just really appreciating her body because
Mm-hmm.
she had such an amazing intimate experience with this male escort who was really patient with her, and just teaching her how she should, love her body, let go, and just enjoy the experience. So, what I found, like from things that I've read and just from conversations, is that, when it comes to intimacy with a partner or somebody that's maybe not a partner, or, exploring um, your sexual side, a lot of what holds people back is body shame, right? Just feeling unsexy. So they're not really able to be present and enjoy the moment. That's not always the case within relationships, but I do want to talk about, especially in relationships, because I know that that's something else you're passionate about, just like reigniting that intimacy and getting over that hump of, oh, am I attractive? My body's changing, and all those things.
All of the above. Yes, I love that movie with Emma Thompson, right? She's
Oh,
British. She's
yes.
just so good, of
You
course.
watched it.
I'm
Okay,
Dutch,
yeah.
but I live in the UK. Um, love, love, love that one. And that's such a beautiful thing, right? To just look in the mirror and start appreciating yourself. Um, but the biggest thing I see with my clients that haven't had sex, say, for 23 years, they're really good friends, but
Mm-hmm.
there's no intimacy. And usually it's because one or both of them have lost the intimate connection to themselves,
Mm-hmm.
the loving of themselves, the being able to feel good in their body. You don't have to be size tiny and perky boobs and butt, to feel good in your body, because I know enough of these women that actually are my clients that are absolutely perfect models of body. They're like super, they have so much shame, and they're not having the sex that they want because they
Mm-hmm.
feel disconnected to themselves. So to start being intimate again, to start being in an intimate relationship again, it's what's key for me and all the people that I teach is to start having intimate conversations again, to start being curious about each other, because you've been married for an X amount of years, you've had kids, you've had careers, you've bought your house, whatever, you've done all your ticks in the to-do list. And all of a sudden, the time that you spend together is talking about the kids or your career or the house, what needs to be done, or what's frustrating. And it's not really, there's not a lot of curiosity about what the relationship is anymore, or what about the other person. Yeah, there might be some low level resentment that hops in. It's like, you haven't taken the rubbish bins out again. Yeah, it's the third week that we don't get our rubbish collected, or our trash collected.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Yeah, and you just start hearing the resentment in people. So first of all, what I say is schedule 2 hours a week. And that might be a long time in the beginning. Schedule 2 hours a week as a date morning, date night, and do something completely different than that what you normally would. Because normally you go out to the movies or dinner, this, that. So make it a different time of the day. So instead of going out at night, why don't you do first thing in the morning? You can tell the kids, like, here's your TV, here's your cereal. You're not allowed to come into the bed for two hours, or get a babysitter, or send them off to whatever. If they have their soccer practice, whatever, make use of that time, and then really start getting into communication with each other. Everything in life is a communication, right? It's how we look at someone, it's how we answer or don't answer, the way we answer. And one really good exercise that I like to teach is a dyad. So it's the power of two. And one person will give a prompt, and the other person will actually just receive it. And when they've understood it, they say thank you. So it's not a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
but it would be, tell me something you love about me. And then the other person really digs deep and says it. And the other person says, thank you. And then they switch and they do that same prompt for about 10 minutes. In the beginning, it's all surface shit. And then the longer and the longer you do, actually, the real desires come up, the real thing come up, what they tell me what you love about me, tell me something you want me to know about yourself. Tell me, where do you see our relationship going? Tell me, what do you want from the future? So these are all like things that can really get a conversation sparking again, can get you dreaming about what was it that I loved about this man or this woman or whoever it is, but why am I with this person? And it kind of like recreates that intimacy. And after that, you can start asking, what kind of touch would you like? They don't have to act on it immediately, but so often our bodies are frozen because we just don't feel connected to the other person.
Yeah. I mean, I think, this probably also works for young couples as well. I think this is a great
Completely.
tool, no matter what stage you are in your
Yeah.
relationship, to definitely use to maintain and also grow intimacy. But, I've been in conversations with people where they say, um, my partner doesn't make me feel attractive, or they say that they're no longer as attracted to me.
Mm-hmm.
How would you advise someone to navigate that? Or maybe their partner has a different sex drive than they do. Um,
That
they're not really
happens a
big on physical,
lot.
yeah, they're not really big on physical touch, right? So, how would you say people navigate situations where they feel like their partner is not really attracted to them, or they have different expectations when it comes to physical intimacy?
And that's another beautiful opener for without actually going in to do the act. It's like, tell me, what is physical intimacy? What does sex mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
Because some person might just be touching and it might be eye gazing. The other person's actually the physical act of, of penetration. And that
Yeah.
is what's also teaching your partner is that a woman actually needs 40 minutes to get lubricated. And so many people don't know that. We watch porn, we look at movies, and it's like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And they're like begging for it. I'm like, that's hot in films, but that's, especially you get a little bit older, that's not really how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So education is definitely one of them. Um, Watching something like Netflix, there's the Goop, um, has some beautiful what's it called, Netflix Sex and Goop, I think. It
Yeah, I
talks
think
about the
so.
erotic
Yeah.
blueprints. It has all these different coaches. I'm an erotic blueprint coach as well, but it kind of shows a few couples and what they're struggling with and how they work with sex coaches and with somatic people and what they can actually do. So doing that together already works. And also saying, hey, yeah, are you open to exploring for 20 minutes? Are you open to exploring different kind of touches? So you give me different kind of touches and you can kind of get to know what my body's like. And then next time I'll do your body. And knowing that it might change still from time to time because there is no set, program, which
Right.
is
Yeah.
annoying. We all want a formula, but there isn't one. But still I can start, we can start seeing it's like, he might have been kissing you here all the time. It actually really creeps you out. So it's like, no, I much prefer touch here, but we don't say what we like because oftentimes we don't even know.
Yeah.
We don't know the kind of touch we like. So it's experiment. Get some blindfolds on and put a candle on. Do you like that? Does that, the sense of being blindfolded and having a candle there, does that actually stimulate you? Different kinds of music. What do you like? Do you like dancing together? Do you like some impact play? Just really like be curious. Nothing is off nothing's off the table, but just saying, hey, I'd love to explore this a bit more with you. Are you open to that? And oftentimes that's tricky. That's the scary bit, right? It's like, but what if he thinks I'm crazy? Like my kinkies, right? The people that
Yeah.
are kinky that like something which is taboo, and it could be as much as getting undressed, naked in front of their partner because they usually do that in the dark, or it could be actually impact play, getting flogged, getting paddled, or having rope tie, or just being talked to in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they have so much shame to bring that up. But then once they get it off their chest, saying, hey, are you open to this? How I teach them is like, put a time container, 15 minutes. You can usually stretch it to 15 minutes. Can we do 15 minutes of this? And then put the timer on. And when the timer stops, goes off, actually stop it. because that's how you build your capacity.
Mm, that's good. That's good.
Mhm.
What about people who have lost attraction for their partner? Do you think those methods can help rebuild it, or is there no hope for
Completely.
that relationship? Okay.
Completely. I mean, I had a couple that was about to get divorced, and they're like, "We haven't had sex in 23 years." Like, what the hell? I
Mm,
want I want it this way, and there's so much shame in actually even saying that I wanted this when the other person just wouldn't listen.
mm,
So what happened is that she started loving herself more, started loving her body more, started
mm,
getting into her body, learned how to communicate this to her husband. And what he just saw is like this woman that had been from like a sour little prune all of a sudden started taking care of herself, had a great time, didn't really care if he was or wasn't in on it or not, but
mm-hmm,
he noticed and he's like, oh my God, she's attractive, she's wonderful. This is the woman that I married.
mm,
And without even knowing that, he just got involved and they started having much more fun together. And all of a sudden it was like, we had sex. I'm like,
mm.
really? I gave you his homework not to have sex. She's like, I know, but you know, but that's how it is, right?
Yeah.
You start also like by writing a list of what did you used to love about your partner? Why
Mm,
were you attracted to him or her? And then also make a list of what did you used to love doing as a kid? And then come together in those date mornings and actually say these out loud. And you know, everyone, when they come with their lists of what they used to like doing as a kid, will look at their partners, even 25 years on, saying, oh my God, I didn't know this about you.
mm-hmm.
Let's do that. I had these two people, 67 and 69, going go-karting. And they never realized that their partner
Oh,
loved
I love
go-karting. Both
that.
of them loved it. It's
Yeah.
like, but this is his curiosity, right? Staying curious. We all just drop into habit, and you know, when you do a new action, the body just creates all these chemicals, that these endorphins and dopamines, like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's so cool. And that's the attraction of when you're newly dating, when you're flirting, when you're
Mm-hmm.
courting. And to reenact that again at a much later age, when you've already had your kids and you're settled and everything, but you're on the brink of divorce, is how you come back from that.
Yeah, yeah, I love everything that you said in it. And I also noticed that just not just staying curious, but also not taking yourself too seriously, having a good time, like you said, having fun, I think reignites all of that, those initial feelings that you have at the start of a relationship.
Yeah, and another really simple one before you go to bed, and yeah, usually people are on their phones, like reading their own stuff. Oh, that's me too sometimes. But it's actually just taking time saying, hey, I'm really grateful for this and this today.
Mm,
Or like, oh, I'll come up to my fiance and I'll say, hey, I really love that you did this and that for me today. I feel deeply loved. Well, he brings me coffee every morning.
I love that.
And even I don't say it enough that I really appreciate it. You know, I tell
Hmm.
him thank you for my coffee. But you know, after a while, it's kind of like, oh, where's my coffee?
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So it's actually slowing down. It's like, no, I really appreciate it. And it's like, why do I appreciate it? It's like, because when you do that, you take the time for me. You know
Mm,
exactly how I like it, in what kind of cup, what kind of porcelain, not too thick, no sugar. You know exactly how much milk I like in it, and you place it in the right place on my bedside table. Yes, I'm picky, but it shows me that he remembers and he actually takes the time to remember what pleases me. So that
mm.
has me feel super loved.
Yeah,
And when
I
I
get
say
I
it
take that.
to him like that, he's like, yeah, what else do you love? Tell me more. Yeah,
Tell me
because
more.
honestly, our
Yeah.
partners want to please us. They want us to be happy. And when we're in a dump, or when we're thinking bad thoughts, it's all like, oh, he doesn't care, or she doesn't
Yeah.
care. It's like, are they just out to spite me? And it's like, no,
Mm,
otherwise they wouldn't be with you.
yeah. Yeah.
But that has crept in. So if you can start with, hey, this is what I'm grateful for. This is what we do with my kids when they come here. At Over Christmas, we were all together with my ex-husband in his house in Lebanon with my current partner and all my kids. And so Christmas Eve, because we celebrate Christmas Eve, I said, listen, what are we all grateful for? So we went through a whole table. And then I said, can we also just make a pact that no one is out here to consciously hurt someone, to
Mm,
consciously hurt someone else, okay? We all get triggered. We all get activated. We all run our own stories, but no one is actively trying to get you.
mm,
Okay, can we just make that pact? And it's funny because my four kids are in their 20s, but still, it was like World War III at one point. I'm like, hey, what did we make a pact about? And they're like, oh yeah, you're right, mom, you okay? It's
yeah.
like, no, I just got massively angry because of that. I'm like, great, go and take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So they've learned to go and take care of themselves, and then they come together and they're like, hey, can I talk to you?
Mm-hmm.
And then they also ask, like, can I talk to you, and can I just say what happened for me when you said that I had a story that you don't love me, and that I always have to listen, etc., etc. But it's completely changes the communication from you always do that to me to I feel this and that, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
a very important distinction.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love what you said that if our partners or the people in our lives didn't love us, even though we have friction with them sometimes, they wouldn't be there. So taking time to appreciate, even if it's the little things, and also communicating when you might be making up stories when it feels like, oh, this person's out to get me, they don't love me, they hate me. Because most situations aren't like that. So I appreciate you for saying that. That's a great reminder for sure.
It's just funny, right? I mean, it's like no one cares about us as much as we care about
Yeah.
our feelings. As like we're
Nobody
just not that
overthinks it as much as we
important,
do. Yeah,
you
exactly.
know.
Yeah, a lot. I think a lot of us think we're a lot more important than we actually are.
Oh my God, our little egos. I'm just like, oh, sweet one, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Like, it's interesting how many stories we create in our heads based on different interactions. All ego, but
Completely.
this has been a great conversation, Juliet. We covered
Thank
so
you.
much ground. It was very eye opening and informative for me. But, this episode, or sorry, this podcast is called A Word to the Wise. And before I let you go, I'd love to ask for final words of wisdom. It could be related to what we've been talking about or something completely different that you keep in your back pocket through life.
For me, what I always say is awareness is truly the first step towards self-love. And
Mm,
it's starting to become aware of your patterns of what you habitually do. It's like someone says something to you and you tense up and you're like, mm. And it's like, oh, hello, little pattern. I'm running that again. It's like, and that's oftentimes that you can just look at it with a bit of curiosity and humor. It's like unclench your butthole. It's like, okay. It's like, oh, okay, that actually wasn't meant like that. But I took it this way because of whatever trauma I had in my background, or whatever someone else had said to me in the past.
mm,
And
mm.
I'm actually not taking it the way that they meant it.
Right, right.
And that's
Thank you.
it. And
That was
just to
that
be
was
aware of
beautiful.
it.
I agree. Awareness is the first step. I think I started to do a lot of work on myself and build self-love and acceptance when I started to realize my patterns
Yeah.
and where they were coming from. Very eye-opening for me.
We are
Where
such
can
meaning making machines, aren't
Yes.
we?
That we are. Where can people find you if they want to work with you or if they want to follow you?
Absolutely. I am both on Instagram and on Facebook as Juliette, French spelling, so double Te Karaman, Karaman. Van Chardenberg, you don't want to do the last name Dutch too long. And my website is feelfullyu.com, because we all could feel a little bit more like ourselves,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. I'm going to be leaving those details in the show notes. So thank you again for
Perfect.
coming on the show. I really appreciate your time, and this was an amazing conversation.
I had a great time. Thank you for having me.